Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 15 of Ignite Your Music Career. That little tune you heard there, Get Up Brand New Day, was my opportunity to try and write a dance tune. I just wanted something with a beat and just more of an experiment than anything else, and it worked. It got on a lot of different shows, for especially NHL, a lot of sports shows for some reason, probably because of the pace of the tune. So it's kind of a neat tune that pays me royalties. It's on a bunch of TV shows and it still pops into different things today. I also believe it's in a video game somewhere along the line. But anyway, this week I'm going to talk about what I call production music warehouse libraries. I'm going to talk about what they are, who uses them, I guess, and also why I use them. I think that's important. It might not be for everybody. I like to use them, and I'm going to explain why. There's a spreadsheet that I'm including with the activity because I want you to research some of these production music warehouses and download and enjoy the free samples to use in your music. So let's go. Let's talk about production music warehouses. Okay, so what are production music warehouses? They're a type of library, but they're completely different from what I call boutique libraries, obviously, that we've talked about a little bit already. Production music warehouses to me are like grocery stores or big box stores. So you go in there looking for a box of cereal, and there might be 800 different types of cereal on the shelves. So it's a place for me to go and just pick through a lot of stuff. Go to a hardware store and you want a certain type of screwdriver, there might be 200 brands of that screwdriver. So production music warehouses to me, and a couple of examples are, which you guys probably already know, Pond 5, Audio Sparks is one. I use both of those. They're basically big box stores or warehouses full of music, full of sound effects, full of sound design, full of graphics. Sometimes you can get VSTs off them, samples. There's usually massive places where you can go, put in your credit card number, and purchase what you want. One of the main differences between them and boutique music libraries, from what I've found myself, is that they don't actively pitch your music. So they're basically a spot for you, a one-stop shop for anybody who wants to acquire assets to go in and buy them. So what I use them for, and for what I use them for, is basically another avenue to sell my music, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. A couple of things about them. Typically, they're easier to get into than a boutique music library. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of brands use them, like American Express or Nike, and all these kind of companies will use them because they'll go in there and they'll look for, it could be a sting for their logo or for their new ad, or it could be music for their new ad, or it could be sound design or sound effects. TV production people use them. A lot of advertising, like I said. Game companies use a lot of them. Typically, the music is a lot cheaper to buy there. That's one of the reasons. So the split, usually if you sign up at one of these companies, it's typically 50-50, and sometimes with like Audio Sparks, it could be 60-40. Now there's a couple of things about these libraries or production music warehouse libraries that you got to think about. When you submit your music, like I said, it's a little easier to get into these. They'll review it, they'll send a contract to you just like any other boutique library would. But make sure you read the fine print on some of this stuff, because some of them tend to have a little checkbox in there where you can tick if you want for them to monetize your music on YouTube. I don't do that. I don't do that at all. I don't want them monetizing my music, and I have my own reasons for that. So they'll send you a contract if they like your music. One of the neat things about these boutique, these warehouse libraries is that once you complete a track or a sound effect or whatever you might have, you can just upload as you go. Typically, they're not as stringent as boutique music libraries with regards to quality sometimes. Now, that can be different with some of them. Pond 5 is one that will review your tracks, and if they think they've got too much of that kind of music, they might reject it. But typically, anything I write, I can put up on Audio Sparks and that sort of thing. Now, there's still metadata to do. Sometimes it's little bits of metadata. Sometimes, like with Audio Sparks, if you check those guys out, it's a lot of metadata. It could be 8 to 10 pages, I think, right now, all online. And you just tick a lot of boxes, write descriptions, keywords, like we've talked about metadata before. So warehouses are, like I said, they don't tend to have the tentacles out there as much as boutique libraries in the music business or in the entertainment world, but they are a one-stop shop. Now, one neat difference is you get to price your own music a lot of times. So if you want to go in there and price, say a track on iTunes is $1.99, you could price your track at $19.99. And the way I look at that is, I'd rather make 50% of $19.99 than $1.99. So you can go in there and actually price your music or albums or sound effects to your liking. That's really important. Now, I've had music licensed for TV shows through AudioSparks, and the licenses are quite nice. I think it was an $800 license for a show that was based in Atlanta, Georgia, reality TV show. So in that situation, it was a 60-40 split. They got 60% of the upfront, I got the 40, but I get the royalties on the back end all the time from me. Another thing is, they don't retitle your music. So you don't want to put any exclusive tracks that you have in other libraries up there. That's not allowed. But they don't retitle your music. So sometimes they will, but typically not a lot. So anything that comes with regards to a non-exclusive contract with them, you can still pitch those tracks to other libraries or other music warehouses. If they do retitle your music, it probably means that it's been licensed for a TV show, or it's going to be licensed for a game, or that sort of thing. So just check your PRO on that. Some of them will retitle, some of them won't. That's just the way it is. So again, a music warehouse is just this big, vast place that's got tons of music. So you can go in there as a film director or a music supervisor or an indie filmmaker or pretty much anybody who needs music and type in keywords, and that'll pick up on the metadata that you've entered for your song, or maybe 500 other people have. And these tracks will pop up, and then they can listen to them and pick which one they want, or maybe more than one. They enter their credit card information, they buy it, they download it, and that's done. So that's kind of how it works. So if your track was $19.95, for example, Get Up Brand New Day is on there. I can't remember what price it is. But if someone goes in and wants to buy that for a TV show or a commercial or an ad of some sort, they go in there and they just enter their credit card, download the song, and that's it. That's one of the key points to the music warehouse thing. They don't tend to push too much of your music out around. They're basically just a big warehouse to collect all these sounds, graphics, sound effects, music, whatever it might be. I like being a part of them because I like the many revenue streams for my music. We'll discuss that here momentarily. Okay, so why do I use music warehouse type libraries? One, revenue. They get a lot of eyeballs every week on their website. They're typically cheaper to license music or get music from than boutique music libraries. So they tend to get a lot of hits on their website, a lot of searches and that sort of thing. So, for example, if I've got a tune, like I mentioned earlier, on iTunes, it's goes for 99 cents or $1.99, I can upload that same song to AudioSparks and set different price limits based on different licenses or buyouts or whatever it might be. So someone can actually buy that track that you heard at the beginning, and it might be $29 to buy. So 40% of that is pretty good for me. If they go to iTunes and listen to it or buy it, it's 99 cents and they pick it up. It's easier to get into these libraries. It takes a lot of work on the metadata side, because you want to really have your metadata so sharp that you're going to pop up in the engine that's on the site. Here's a little tip. What I do is I go and look at some of the best-selling tracks that are similar to mine that I want to upload. So say, for example, I want to upload a track that's an eerie, pulsing kind of CSI laboratory kind of track. I'll go on these libraries and actually type in a few keywords, and see what the most popular tracks are in that genre. Then what I'll do is I'll look at the metadata that's attached to that track, because you can see it, and I'll use similar metadata. That's one way to kind of get your track boosted to the top. There's nothing illegal about it, they're just words. So you can use the descriptors, the keywords, all that stuff. It's almost like don't reinvent the wheel. If someone else is doing it really well already, just make sure you understand how they do it and do it very similar. So the revenue from these things can be quite good. Sound effects is something I like to do. It breaks up my time writing music, and I'll whack on things, or I'll make up all these sounds, monster sounds, or whatever it might be. They sell a lot in these libraries. So taking a break from music sometimes and just creating a sound, and then mixing it and mastering it and figuring all the metadata for it and uploading to these libraries is a really good idea. Now, sound effects are a lot cheaper, but you might be able to sell $500 worth of sound effects in a few weeks, as opposed to maybe a song every few months. And I just like it because it breaks up my time. I like doing sound design, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the lessons as we go forward. It's always good to kind of have different things to do in the music business, right? Doing just one thing. So if you're just writing hip-hop songs, that's great. But if you can write hip-hop songs and then beats and other things on the side, just diversifies your income stream, which is what Ignite Your Music Career is about. And, kind of gives you a break from having to do the same thing every day, day in, day out. So like I said, they're easier to get into as soon as you have your track ready, or your sound effect ready, or ambient ready, whatever it might be, or loops. You can upload them, do the metadata, and go from there. Now, the most important thing about metadata, and we talked about this in a different lesson, is to keep track of that metadata so that you don't have to keep going back and reworking it and that sort of thing. So if you put it in that spreadsheet that is available for you in the previous lessons, you just copy and paste a lot of that stuff in. It saves you valuable time, and that's the key in the music business today, is getting stuff out really fast and really well done, but not slowing down the process. Now, another note about music warehouses is that, much like boutique music libraries, which I discussed, I'm part of 35 or 40 of them right now, not all of them are going to make you a ton of money. So I want you to research the ones that are more effective, upload your tracks to a few of them if you want to do that, and just kind of gauge the number of hits, check out the stats, because you can really review the stats, which is neat on most of these libraries, and see which ones work for you. So then when you write your next piece of music or your next group of sound effects, maybe you're part of 5 of these companies. Maybe company A is not doing too good for you. Company B get a lot more hits. So then you import those tracks to company B first. That's the most important priority. Maybe C is pretty good, so you get to C. If A is the last on your list of effective libraries, music warehouse libraries to go to, you do that last. You always want to put your music where it's going to get hit first. That's really important. So to recap that aspect of it, it's just a good place to get your music out, get revenue from. Here's an example of the way I've made money over the last year. My office at a school that I teach at, a college, it's a really nice office. It's on a one-way street. I went in one day to get ready for, I think it was in August, getting ready for school. I had my field recorder there, put it in the window. It was a beautiful day. I recorded about an hour of a one-way city street kind of thing. So there's trucks going by and people going by and birds singing and that sort of thing. Came back to the studio, cut it up into a bunch of different versions and loops, and I used it in a film just shortly thereafter, some ambient that I needed for street noise. And then I put it up on a bunch of these libraries, music warehouse libraries, and it sells. It sells for $7 to $8 a pop. And but once it's there, I don't have to do anything. I can direct people to it if I want. I tend not to. I just put in really good metadata and make sure I check stats and make sure to see what gets sold. Okay, so just to recap, music production warehouses are like big box stores full of goodies. Music of all genres, sound effects of all kinds, sometimes graphics, sometimes virtual instruments, samples, all kinds of different things. They don't particularly push your music so much like a boutique music library would. It's usually cheaper to buy music there or to license music there. The splits are kind of similar, 50-50 usually, but sometimes it's 60-40 in their favor. They're a lot easier to get into, and I use them as a really good revenue stream. The other thing you can think about these things, it's a good testing place to put your music. So if you put a good piece of music up there and it's, sell it for $19.99 or $29.99, whatever it might be, you can test your metadata, see how things are going, because they're really full of stats. When you send your music to a boutique library, you don't really know who's listening to it a lot of times. You can't log into the site most of the times and actually see the stats. There's a few you can, but for But for music licensing or music warehouses, you can go right in there, you can see your track, you can see how many times it's been played, how many times it's been purchased, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a neat testing ground for your music as well. So I've got a spreadsheet included in this exercise or activity, for this activity, and I want you to kind of research a few. Some of them, if you Google this, the top ones will come up. Audio Sparks is a good one, Pond 5 is a really good one. And you get paid every month with these. That's just kind of neat too. So once you reach a certain threshold of payment, it's usually $20 or $25 a month, or for the payment, you'll get a PayPal, email saying they just sent you music. So you get paid a little quicker than you would with a boutique library. And again, they've got way more reach within everyday people. So filmmakers, indie filmmakers, music licensors, could be people looking for beats. Beats sell a lot on those warehouses. Could be anybody, game companies, but they just go in there. It's a one-stop shop, and they put in their credit card, and they download your music, and you get paid for it. So it's a really neat revenue stream. It's a good tracking tool, again, as I said. So download the spreadsheet, research a few. Audio Sparks and Pond 5 are two you should be in, I think. And download the free samples and enjoy them in your music. And if you have any questions or anything you need to talk about, drop us a note and we'll get back to you. So enjoy.